Hey my good friends, Sam Haymart with Test Driven TV. It's been a year since we took delivery of our 2022 Ford Maverick Hybrid long-term tester. Now it's time to talk about what it's been like and would we do it again? A year ago this week, we picked this truck up from Sanderson Ford in Glendale, Arizona. We ordered it. It took 6 months for us to get it. And since then, we've put 19,000 miles on it to the day. So in that year, this vehicle has become lived in, used, and I use it for my company, and 85% city driving, about 15% freeway driving. And so it's had its first oil change and major service, and it's coming due for that very soon again. 2 windshields have been put in this vehicle. Rock chips are a big thing here in Arizona. And the tires are about 50% tread. And these Continental Pro Contact tires, I've had them on other vehicles, they tend to last a pretty good long time. Looking at the truck, you can tell it looks a little bit lived in. The interior has worn very well. Getting in and out of this vehicle for a year, I don't see any wear on the seats. The plastic on the dash and on the door panels does get scratched very easily. That's something a lot of people have talked about with these trucks. And as you look at the vehicle, you can also see that there's been quite a few things done to this. We've done a makeover on it last spring, and that includes graphic stripes. The wheels were painted white. On the back, we've got a tonneau cover and a Kiko sport bar. A lot of products have been tested and tried out on the vehicle. We have a lot of companies that are sending us these products to use and to demonstrate for the purposes of our content. One of the biggest attractions I had to this truck was fuel economy. The headline was 40 miles to the gallon, $20,000, the first compact hybrid pickup truck available in North America. And I got what I paid for. And if you've looked at all of our reviews we've done, this truck has not only met the EPA of 42 mpg city, it has well exceeded it. It has not only met the 37 mpg average, it has well exceeded it. In my year of driving this, I have logged exactly 19,000 miles, and measured at the tank, my average fuel economy is 40.3 mpg. That means that I've exceeded the 37 mpg combined average that you would have expected from the window sticker. So that's good. It's performed very well. I've seen highs of over 50 mpg on a tank, and I've seen lows down into the low 30s. And the thing about the fuel economy that I've noticed is that temperature really is the thing that kills your fuel economy. Here in Arizona, when it gets to be 110, 112, 115 in the summer, that kills the fuel economy. That's because the engine's running more often. The air conditioner's running, which runs off the battery, but the engine runs more often to power the battery for the air conditioner. All of the cooling systems in this truck are run by the battery. So the battery is taxed to run the cooling systems. The engine has to run more. It kills the fuel economy. Cold kills the fuel economy because the engine has to run more to run the heater. The other thing that kills fuel economy, quite surprisingly, is high-speed freeway driving. Now, in some ways, that's a no-brainer. We all know that when you drive on the freeway at 75 or 80 miles an hour, you're going to get less fuel economy. For instance, between Phoenix and LA, that's the speed. That's 75, 80. That's what everybody's doing. I get about 30 to 33 mpg on those road trips. And so when I look at my miles per gallon average over the year, the thing that really brought it down from the mid-40s are a couple, 2 or 3 road trips that I took. And so there's about 3 or 4 tanks of gas that were down in the 30s that really pulled that average down. But the trip meter average is 43.1. So all of you that look at the dash and you like to quote your MPG from the dash know that that dash is always pretty optimistic. In almost every car I test here in the Maverick, it's almost 3 MPG optimistic. So just food for thought there. But I've kept that trip meter there just so I can check myself on my average. Pretty good. So I'm pleased with the MPG. It has not only met the promises, it's exceeded them in a big way. And with what gas has cost this year, that's a good thing. When it comes to living with this truck, it has been relatively trouble-free. Now, there have been some issues. There have been 2 recalls issued since I bought the truck. The first one is the fire safety recall. That was last year. Now, that made big headlines because everybody's going, oh my God, the truck catches on fire. Can we park it in our garage? No, folks. The fire recall was all about the fact that some of the engines that were built in 2021, early 2022, they had machining issues. And so because of that, and some of the Ford Escapes, which also used the same engine, they had engine failures. And when the engine fails, when an engine blows up, you get oil, you get gas vapors, all that stuff gets expelled outside the engine block or the oil pan. And because this engine compartment is so airtight, it's got a shield on the bottom, it's got shutters in the front that can shut, Ford determined that to help avoid a fire, should all of those vapors, that oil, actually touch something hot or find another ignition source, they decided to increase the drainage underneath the truck and increase the airflow in the engine compartment. So they removed a couple of shutters and they drilled some holes in the lower shield. It wasn't that the truck was a fire hazard, so to speak. It was that they wanted to help prevent a fire should the engine explode. Well, the odds of that happening are pretty low. So that recall was done in pretty short order, not a big deal. The second recall hasn't been done yet. This is for the side curtain airbags, and it was issued last year. We're still waiting on parts for our local dealer to actually perform the recall, and what they're actually going to be doing is replacing both sets of side curtain airbags. And again, not really a big deal. This was a situation where the airbags function properly, they work, they don't perform to spec. When they actually come out, they're about a centimeter or so off in location from where they're supposed to be. They're actually replacing the entire unit. So I expect that that'll be happening sometime early this year. Really, the biggest issue that I've had with this truck has been these goofy brakes. And it's not just me, a lot of people, thousands of owners, in fact, almost every hybrid owner experiences these brakes, which are very grabby at low speed. When you're pulling into a parking lot, when you're pulling up to a stop sign, or you're pulling out of a parking lot and waiting for traffic and then you're going to go. Slow speeds like that, these brakes are very unrefined. They have this on-off sort of personality and behavior, and at times they can grab. They can literally just grab and slam the brakes on when you least expect it. There have been over 24 complaints to the National Highway Transportation Safety Administration, and Ford finally issued a fix last year. And this was a software upgrade for the electronic braking system. So you have to go to your dealership to get this fix. I did. I got the fix. And my experience with it, as has been the experience of a number of other owners, is that the fix doesn't quite do the deal. It doesn't quite fix the problem. I'm still waiting for a better fix for that. I've gotten used to how these brakes behave, as have most owners. It's just not a good deal. So if you're looking at buying a hybrid, know that you're going to be getting some goofy brakes with this thing. There's that. Other issues with the truck are just little things like rattles on the dash, and that's only when it's cold. The plastic just sort of rattles within the panels of each other. A lot of owners are having that issue as well. And the other big issue, of course, has been this radio. It's a base radio. It's a cheap radio. It was meant to be cheap. We're lucky that it's got a big touch screen, and we're lucky it has Bluetooth connectivity and all of those extra things. The problem is it just doesn't work that good. The sound's okay. You expect that in a base radio, but Bluetooth connectivity is spotty. It's not that reliable, and the thing glitches up sometimes. It locks up and you have to turn it off, repower up the truck. It needs more computing power, more graphic power than all of the features that it has need to get the job done. And that's been well documented in all of the different test drives that we've done, and most of the owners out there have pretty much the same thing to say. Having spent 19,000 miles and a year behind the wheel of this truck, what I can tell you is that it's been holding up very well in terms of how the truck feels. While I do have rattles in the dash, the chassis is still every bit as solid as the day I drove it home. I haven't developed any looseness in the steering or the suspension, no noises in the suspension. Everything still feels nice and tight in the steering, and performance is still where it was the day I drove it home. And that's really worth noting the fact that the performance from this hybrid powertrain, even though the horsepower numbers aren't as high as the EcoBoost engine, pretty commendable. It has enough power to be fun to drive. It has enough power to pull out into moving traffic, pull onto the freeway, and get the job done. And that really all just makes it fun to drive. Yeah. After a year living with this truck, what I can tell you is that the pros are fuel economy, it's cheap to buy, it's easy to customize, and it's fun to drive. The cons, cheap interior, goofy brakes on the hybrid that Ford still hasn't quite gotten their head around yet, and the audio system really, really glitchy. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Now, if you've been looking for one of these things, you probably know they're not easy to find or easy to get. You have to order it. That's just the story. You have to order it if you want to get one the way you want it and not pay $5,000 or $10,000 over sticker. There's very few of these sitting around on dealership lots. The 2023 model year has been sold out. That's pretty well known news out there. The 2024 model year, you can order those probably sometime next fall. You have to watch the news to find out when that is, because it's likely to sell out in a week, just like the 2023 model year did. But would I do it again? Absolutely. Even with the problems, even with all of the little glitches and things that have come with having this truck in the first year of production, it's been very cheap to own, and it's worth everything I paid for it. That can be taken any number of ways, but it's definitely a vehicle that right now doesn't have any competition in the marketplace. The Hyundai Santa Cruz is around the same size, but is about $6,000 more across the board, and quite frankly, it's a more premium product, and as of yet does not offer a hybrid. So getting to closing this thing up, as you can see, there's a lot of customization that's been done to this truck. A lot of people have loved it, a lot of people have hated it. We have videos on all of this and how this was done, but get a good look at it. This is probably the last time you're going to see it this way, because an all-new makeover is afoot. We're going to be doing some different things with it, a makeover part 2 here a little bit later this spring, and it's going to be getting a completely different look and vibe. And that's just part of what I love doing with vehicles. It's fun. It's just a lot of fun. Now, we've got over 60 videos on our Maverick playlist right there. Test drives, technical, DIY, projects, products. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel right down there and stay informed of everything we do. Either way, stay tuned.